Okay, we are on YouTube, so let's start. Uh, Good afternoon, YouTube. You are here for another English immersion. I'm here with you, and actually the topic was about technology in sports, but I think we can talk about other topic and about language and the concept of fluency and those idea. I think it's a good topic to speak about that, you know. So before that, I would like to explain a little bit about the platform for you that are watching us on YouTube, and you can understand how this kind of immersion and how TNT works. So, Talking Talk is a conversation platform for beginner, intermediate, or advanced speakers, you know, and the conversations that what we have here are for all levels. So it's not so important your level on the language, you know, the conversations are for all levels. And the main point is that this immersion is not a regular class, and I'm not an English teacher or a language teacher at all. So I will not teach you directly, but you will learn by practice in a real environment with a real topic and with a real conversation. And the main point is about to develop your fluency and mainly your confidence as an English speaker. Okay, so I'm also here to learn and to improve my English as well. So, besides English, we have a lot of languages here, like Spanish, French, Italian, German, guys, and Mandarin. So we have a lot of language here, and you can see that on the Talk and Talk website. Okay. So that's all about the platform. Actually, I will start with my introduction, and after that we can follow with the conversation. Okay. So my name is Warley. I'm 25. I live in Recife, Pernambuco. I work with IT as a front-end developer, and I'm also a Spanish and English host here on Talk and Talk. I'm here since 2022. I have started with Spanish as a Spanish host, and nowadays I'm focused more on develop my English skills. Yeah, and that's all about me. Ju, can you introduce yourself, please?
Yes, good afternoon. My name is Juliana. I'm 38. I live in São Paulo. I've been here on TNT for around 4 years, focus on my English, my speaking skill. I work with process management and I love traveling. I love go concerts. I love go out to parks or have dinner with my husband, with my friends, and we love traveling with friends and things like that. I think so.
Amazing, amazing. So, can you repeat the question about fluency that you made for me before?
Yes, I'd like to ask you if what do you think about fluency and the advanced level if we are able to active the fluency level even if we are not native speakers?
Okay, so uh, that's a complicated point to talk about, but I have an unpopular opinion about fluency or the concept of fluency, you know, because, for example, I think people focus a lot on the concept of fluency, like to be and to speak like a native, you know. So people understand the concept of fluency uh, as a native speaker, but I think it's not possible, you know, it's not possible. Even if you live, I don't know, 5 years, 10 years on the country, it's not possible to be a native, you know, to like a native, to speak like that. Maybe speak is not the only point, but actually, I don't think that's the really concept and the right concept of fluency. Yeah, just for me, you know, it's a personal opinion. And I think it's not necessary, you know, it's definitely not necessary to speak like a native and to speak in this way. On the most case, you actually I don't think that you want to speak in this way. So I think the concept of fluency is like to have a conversation with others and to know the language to communicate, to understand the people that you are talking about, and also to be understood. I think the concept of fluency for me is like that. Because if you put this concept of fluency like, oh, I need to be like a native, it's like a utopia, and it's not necessary. And I think that's the most common mistake that people make. I don't think that's so important to be fluent like that. But specifically about the point that you said, about like to speak about specific topics, like, I don't know, health concepts, and to have healthy vocabulary and all this stuff. I think it actually is normal, and it's also another point that is so complicated to have and to know this vocabulary, because you are not living in an English country. You don't use this vocabulary and this knowledge in Brazil, for example. So do you think, for example, it's right to, if someone speak well English and to have conversations, and uh, he's he's understood for other people, but he doesn't know about, I don't know, healthy vocabulary and all this stuff. Do you think it's right to say that he is not fluent, for example? So it is this kind of idea that I'm not agree with that. I don't know your opinion, but
Mm-hmm.
it's just a personal opinion.
Yeah, I agree that we can be fluent even that we don't sound like a native because there is the accent involved, and we will never talk like a native because we have your identify about the where
Yeah.
we are from. And I I always said it here on TNT that I don't want to lose my accent because
Yeah.
I'm glad about the place where I'm from, and I want that the foreign people know that I'm Brazilian. So that's it's a point. So I don't have this utopia that I want to sound like a native. But in the other hand, we have this part of the vocabulary that we don't know. And I think that we will never know, as we were talking before. There are a lot of vocabularies about my work that I'm not able to speak in English, even
Yeah.
and about the other professions like science or doctors or everything else. So I'm still trying to understand the concept of fluency in this point of view. Maybe if I go to a doctor in another country, they we need to speak slower, or they will need to ask for a, how can I say, tradutor, because
Yeah.
if they say, oh, you have this disease, you have this problem, I will think, oh my
Yeah.
gosh, I don't know what's happening, I don't know. So in
Yeah.
some situations the fluency doesn't exist in
Exactly.
this part of the life.
Yeah, exactly that. And it's pretty normal. Actually, the question is, why do you need to know all this vocabulary and all this fluence of English? In this case, it's just a second language that you have. You are Brazilian, you speak Portuguese, is your native language. And
Yeah,
even in Portuguese, we don't know everything about the language, and we make a lot of grammar mistakes, and it's pretty
yeah,
normal. Why in English do you need to have all this vocabulary, and why do you need to be fluent like a native? It's the concept.
yeah,
Uh
I agree.
and and I think it's different, watching for the perspective that you said about, well, in my job, for example, I don't have the vocabulary specifically about the my work, about specific technical points, you know. And actually, I think it's normal. And in my opinion, the point of to learn a second language, for example, or to know another language, is related to that, to personalize your knowledge and your improvement and your study to these kind of topics that you need to know.
Yeah.
Uh, do you get it? Because, for example, for me, it's important to know English in a general way, but it's more important to know the concepts of IT area in English. So I know that I need to improve and to study English, more focus on that. So I need to study these kind of technical points. It's important for me. But for
Mm-hmm.
example, it's not important for me in a general way to know about health, medicine concepts of English, you know. I think I will never use that in my life.
Yeah.
So and that's okay, you know. That's pretty normal and that's okay. It's natural. I don't have to know all the points of English. Maybe if I need to go to a doctor on other side, on another country, for example, it would be nice if I have this vocabulary, but I can speak in other ways and to use the translator, for example, and to explain other ways, you know, with other words, and that's okay, you know. I think it's pretty normal. It's just a point of personalize and know and improve and study what you need, you know.
Yeah, I totally agree. And when I had classes, I the teacher taught me more than 100 phrasal verbs, and he used to say that it's important because to look more fluent, you need to use the phrasal verbs because the native people will use it, so things like that. And but he also said that there will be some phrasal verbs that you will get used with them because it sounds like your daily vocabulary. It's common used then. So I learned more than 100, and I remembered 5 or 10 phrasal verbs because there are some of them that I couldn't put in my life, in the context of my life. For example, give up or hang out or things like that, workout, because things that we use to speak in daily routine. So it's exactly what you said. It depends of the context, and you will have our own personality in English, and we use some terms, some vocabulary that it's involved with our personality.
Yeah, exactly. And as I said before, the most important point is to know, first of all, why are you learning English? You know, it's the first question that you need to answer, I guess. So you need to know exactly where you are use this English, you know. So as I said before, if I need to know English for my job, it's important to focus on that. But if I
Mm-hmm.
need English for a trip, for example, I will focus on that vocabulary and on that knowledge, you know. For
Mm-hmm.
example, why you need to focus why do you need to focus on phrasal verbs and 100 phrasal verbs if you not use that in your daily routine, you know.
Yeah.
Even if you like I don't know how to say decorar in English.
Sorry,
Let me
could understand.
uh
It's
decorar,
cutting. Ah,
the
okay, I
the,
don't
the verb.
know.
I in the translator here is like decorate, but I think it's related to. decorate a house, you know, it's not like
Yes.
to memorize. I think
Go
that's it,
or
memorize.
fix. Yeah, I don't
Yeah,
know.
or
Memorize.
fix the knowledge. Yeah, yeah, exactly that. So even if you memorize all these 100 phrasal verbs, you will forget that you forgot. I Let me see. I'm with I don't know if the correct one is forget
Yeah, we will forget
or
because you
or
don't use
forgot.
it.
Forgot is the past, right? Yeah,
Right.
exactly, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
And
So
sometimes when
even
I spend too much time not speaking, I forget
yeah,
the word, not even the phrasal verb, but the words in
yeah,
itself. So
yeah.
it's a matter of practicing. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Even as I said, even if you memorize all these phrasal verbs and the 100 phrasal verbs, eventually you will forget the some of them or all of them, you know, because you don't use that. You need to use the language and the knowledge to like to be in a consistent way to internalize this idea, you know. And even with that, we sometimes we forget like a word, a phrase, a expression, and all this stuff. It's pretty normal. It's pretty normal. For example, uh I have studied English. I'm sorry. I have studied Spanish in 2015. At the first time. So I have studied Spanish for 1 year. Maybe in high school. And after that, I went to a student exchange in Argentina. In a government program, you know, of my state. And I went to Argentina and I stayed there for like 5 or 6 months. And I learned a lot of Spanish and Argentina accent and Argentina Spanish, you know. But it was in 2015, so it's like 10 years ago, like almost 10 years ago. So nowadays, I don't have all this vocabulary that I had on 2015, you know, and it's
Mhm.
normal. I have the base of the language. I speak well Spanish and I know a lot of points of the language. And for example, compared to English, more comfortable for me. But I forgot a lot of vocabulary, a lot of expressions, and I lost the accent, the most accent that I had when I was there, you know. And
Yeah.
it's normal. I don't use Spanish in my daily life, you know, in my routine. So it's normal. It's normal to forget. Unfortunately, it's normal to do that.
It's not only about language because our brand
Yeah,
they need to save space to other things that are more
exactly.
important. But if you are not using, you will forget. For example, when I go on vacation for 20 or 30 days, when I come back, I don't remember my password.
Exactly.
So how I could remember a lot of words in English if I don't use it? It's our brand is really really smart, and when we sleep they organize it, so these things it's not useful, these things okay. It's a amazing machine.
Exactly that, exactly that. And yeah, for good and bad points, the our brain is so smart. So he needs to save space, as you said. So the most point that you are not uh telling him that it's important, you know, because when you are studying something in a consistent way, you tell for your brain that's important. So
Hmm.
he save this point as important, and you remember that, you know, it's a normal process that we do.
Yeah.
But in the opposite, it's the same. You will forget a lot of things. With that example that you said about when I go to a vacation for, I don't know, one month and I go back to work, it's like I don't work anymore, you know, it's this feel of I forget a lot of things that I used to do in a easy way, in a simple way, in a fast way, you know. And now it's, I don't know, it's like what happened in this month that I went to vacation, for example, and it seems like I don't know how to work anymore. You know, it's a funny
Yeah.
point exactly,
Yeah,
actually.
we get around 2 3 days to get back to the same point that we were before the vacation. It's funny. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And you actually we study a lot of topics, you know. We study about language, we study about technical points for our work, we study about, I don't know, life, and we learn a lot of things all the days, you know.
Yeah.
So it's hard to maintain all this stuff. We are not a book, for example. So it's kind of hard to study a lot of points and save all this knowledge, you know. So it's normal to just forget, and it's like a choose of uh what is important for you and what is really necessary for you maintain that on your brain, you know. So yeah, it's a a common process, a natural process that we do, you know.
Yeah, the point is to try to let the English alive in your daily routines. For example, in the pandemic, when I joined here on TNT, we didn't have much things to do outside because we were kind of locked at home. So
Yeah.
I had a lot of time to practice English. There was some weeks that I was having immersions here every day, and some days I was having twice a day because I had time. I couldn't go to the gym. I couldn't go to eat out or to see my
Yeah.
friends. So I remember there was a immersion. It was a happy hour day on Friday night. There was more
Nice.
than 100 people here on TNT, and it was Jesus Christ. We are all
Nice.
at the same boat, just look at home. And but now the things, the life is getting, it's getting crazy again, and we have a lot of things to do. We need to learn about different things, financials, work topics. So if you don't put the English in your priority, if we don't have motivation, and if you don't see the gains about it, we just leave it away, and we forget. It's common. It needs to be part of your daily. But I don't. I can. I'm not able to be here every day, but I try at least twice a week to schedule a immersion and try to practice. There are some weeks that I don't appear, but I think that it's the constants. We need to keep the constants, and there is a term in developing human development that, if I don't know if you already learned about long life learning. It's a
Yeah.
methodology that you can use it to keep yourself learning along the life, and always putting in context with the subject. So it's about organization,
Yeah, this concept does make sense. So I just accepted that I will like study English for all my life, you know, and Spanish as well. So uh, it was actually it's related to the point of fluency because
Mm-hmm.
people, in my opinion, focus on this concept of fluency that they will need they will study like 1 or 2 years the language, and they will stop, and that's
Yeah,
okay, you know. And
there are a lot of schools that they say get
yeah,
fluent in 6 months. Oh my gosh, it's impossible.
yeah, that's not real, you know. I agree that you can speak and learn the language and to be fluent on my concept in 1 year or before. It's totally normal. But you need to be to keep yourself study, maybe not every day and I don't know 2 hours or 1 hour every day, but you need to maintain this kind of study, you need to do
Mhm.
that for all your life, you if you want to speak the language all this time. I think it's like when you are starting, you need to put more effort and more time studying, it's common. For example, in this year for me, I'm trying to study English every day and like practice on conversation like 3 times a week, for example, or more. And it's normal because I'm the in the beginning of the process to learn the language and to practice conversation and to practice speaking and listening. So it's normal to put more effort for me. But in the case that, I don't know, maybe in the next year that I'm okay in a basic, in a good level of the language, it will be normal that I put less effort on that. But I need to maintain this study. I think it's pretty normal and it's necessary.
Yeah,
It's,
I totally agree. As we're not natives, we'll need to study forever. It's
yeah,
it's not possible because you don't live it. They speak English 12, 15 hours per day because they are living there in that environment. But we don't use it, so we need to study. It's a pity.
exactly, exactly. And it is a funny point that you said about pandemic, for example. I wasn't here on the pandemic. I have started in Talk and Talk in 2022, so it was after. Uh, but one point that more I have a regret, in the point of the pandemic. It is about to use this time that I had to study a language like English, for example. If I had to start study English, like to have conversations and practice speaking and listening on the pandemic, I nowadays I will be, I think, in a great level in English, I maybe advanced or something like that. And maybe I would be like, yeah, I think that's the right point. I said will be, but it is would be. I would be in the advanced level in English, for example, and maybe I would be study Italian right now, for example, that I want to know and I want to learn. But yeah, I think for a lot of people it was great this point of to be closed, for example, in the pandemic to learn something and like a language. I know that it was a difficult time for me. It was pretty hard to stay at home and all the point that happened, it was complicated. So I think that's a point that I'm okay with that. But if I could say about one regret, maybe it was use this point to learn English, like 1 hour a day. Uh, it was necessary. It was enough. So it would be nice to learn the language. But yeah, okay, that's a good point. I'm improving now, and I have a lot of evolution in my English in this year, so that's okay. It's a process, as I said before.
Yeah, yeah, nice, really nice topic. I think that I,
Yeah.
I will go. I need to come back from my lunchtime. It
Okay.
was a pleasure talk with you, Fowler. Fowler.
Warley.
Farley. Okay. It was a
Yeah.
pleasure.
So it's freezing. Can you hear me?
Now it's okay.
Okay, that's freezing for me. Before that, let me send here on the chat the link of the survey.
Oh,
For you say what you think about the immersion and just to have a feedback. Let me just send here. the link.
Okay.
Yeah, I will share with you here in the chat. And you can say what did you think about the immersion and suggest another topic that you want to talk about, So yeah, it was a pleasure to talk with you. I hope you enjoyed the topic. I love to talk about language, so it was nice to have this conversation. And I see you in the next time. Okay, Ju. Bye bye.
Okay, thank you. See you. Bye.